Good morning to everyone. I guess we're the ones we've all been waiting for because we stand between you and the whole appropriations meeting and being able to get out of here. But I think this is the largest group. I've got 39 pages, so I'm gonna try and go through them pretty rapidly. But it starts off with the Court of Appeals. Under 5.1.6, increase judges' salaries to $212,230 annually in line with the Judicial Compensation Committee's recommendation. This is a this is half funding this year and starts in January the 1st. Governor recommended $812,000. Since it's only a half, it's $406,000. 5.1.13. Reduced funds for a temporary judge's salary. Many of you know we had a judge under suspension. We were paying him and a replacement. We've got a new judge appointed, so we take $117,000 back. 5.1.14, increased funds for targeted recruitment and retention initiatives for staff attorneys and professional staff. $1,085,000, 10% raise. There's 7 professional staff that are actually working 2 jobs now. And there's a 10% vacancy rate for staff attorneys, losing experienced staff. 5.1.15, increased funds for targeted recruitment and retention initiatives for the clerk's office, administrative, financial, and IT staff. $246,000. That includes a 10% raise and a COLA. Moving down to 5.2.4, increased funds for a salary enhancement for the Judicial Council's Judicial Compensation Reform Package. The Governor recommended $30,506. We put in $15,253, which is half. Section 6, Judicial Council. Under 6.4.7, increased funds for civil legal services for families of indigent patients. The governor put in $419,000. We took it to half once again, brings the base for $409,000. These are primarily for medical legal partnerships, lawyers helping patients that are indigent, that are in hospital care, that need legal services. $8.5.3, increased funds for 1 legal assistant position. Governor recommended $117,000. We changed the starting salary from $70,000 to $50,000, so we reduced to $83,807. Juvenile courts, no changes. Prosecuting attorneys, under 8.1.7, reduce one-time funding for vehicles, software, and computers for a conflict case unit. We were able to reclaim $210,734. That was a one-time funding last year for all that equipment, so obviously we were able to recoup it. 8.3.10, increased funds for 3 additional assistant district attorney positions for the new judgeships in Douglas, Houston, and Tift judicial circuits, starting January 1st, $237,228. Down to 8.4.9, transfer $1,125,000 to establish a new prosecuting attorneys qualification commission. It's a new program, just began. We funded it. 8.4.10, increased funds for repeat offender tracking system, $750,000. Moving down to Prosecuting Attorneys Qualifications Commission, transfer funds from Prosecuting Attorneys Council Program for the Prosecuting Qualifications Commission program. We just talked about that, and they moved the funds from 8.4.9 to 8.5.1. $9.3.9, provide funds to implement the judicial salary restructuring plan. The governor recommended $19,808,000. It's a 2-year phase-in, so first year will be $9,904,000. 9.3.10, 11, and 12 are all new judgeships in the Tifton, Houston, and Douglas circuits. $218,555 apiece. Supreme Court, 10.1.9, increased funds for personnel for a salary enhancement consistent with the Judicial Council proposal. We put in $327,059. 10.1.10, increased funds for targeted recruitment and retention initiatives for staff attorneys and professional staff, $881,340. That's 10%. 10.1.11, increased fund for recruitment and retention for the clerk's office, administrative, financial, and IT staff, $300,000. That's, again, that's 10%. Moving on to the Department of Community Supervision, 18.2.8, reduced funds reflected in a reduction in leased office space. They offered to give up 1%, to give up office space for the 1% cut during the budget submission, but when they looked at it, they really couldn't do it. They've given up most of it. All the community service agents, supervision agents now work in their vehicles. They only have a few offices. And sometimes they just need to bring somebody in, a parolee in, and talk to them in an office so they can retain that. So that's zeroed out. Increased fund for 25 community supervision aid positions. We gave them almost half. We gave them 12. The governor recommended $1,731,000. After reduced it, it was $831,000. These are personnel who will take over some of the administrative work, like writing warrants and filling in during court hearings. Corrections. 19.5.7, increased funds for $2 per diem increase for the county correctional institutions. We put this in last year and it was disregarded. I moved it from $22 a day to $24 a day. Actually, the county spends $50 per day on these people. The cost is $1,775,000. 19.7.7, increased fund for technical college system of Georgia vocational educational contracts. These are for the people that provide education to the prisoners while they're incarcerated. It's $240,427. There are 15 instructors with TRS and ERS. This is for fiscal years 23, 24, and 25 COLAs. Defense Department, 20.2.3, increased funds provide an additional $3,000 targeted salary enhancement for post-certified law enforcement officers. We said no, they don't have any post-certified officers, so we zeroed that one out. The Governor's Office, no changes. GBI, under 30.3.5, under Forensic Science Services, increased funds to annualize 21 crime lab positions. The governor recommended $1,897,000. We're going to give them $1,734,000. They didn't include the fringe benefits in the, or they had the wrong fringe benefits in their when they provided this information. 30.3.10, increased funds provide targeted retention initiatives and 229 crime lab scientists. That's $1,151,000. It's a 3% raise, $3,000 raise, entry level from, takes the scientists from $58,500 to $61,500. 30.3.11, increased funds provide targeted retention initiatives for lab technicians and evidence receiving technicians. That's $1,019,000. There's 78 positions. The new entry level salary will be from $37,200 to $45,000. $30.3.12, transfer funds from the Forensic Scientific Services Special Project Program to enhance the DBI's ability to hire additional medical examiners. $960,000. You see that they moved it down to 30.4.1. 30.5.6, increased funds to add 2 criminal intelligence analyst positions to support the criminal street database. The governor recommended $221,000. We put in $307,000. They didn't put in the cost for the ongoing equipment that's required. 30.6.9, increased funds to restore 7 grant specialist positions and 1 budget analyst. This is in CJCC. Some of you know they've lost almost all their grant specialist positions, and about one's quitting about every 2 weeks. We try to put some in amended. We put another $749,000 in there for $53,000 salary for a grant specialist and a $57,000 salary for a budget analyst. 30.6.10, provide funds for personal service and operating expenses, promote the stability of Georgia Crime Victims Fund, $2,773,000. This is half of what's needed to keep this fund solvent until the 2030s. It pays for 3,956 forensic medical exams, 9.9 thousand forensic interviews with children and disabled, and 20,000 claims that were processed. Still under CJCC and the Council of Accountability Court Judges, 30.7.3, increased funds for existing accountability courts to support population growth. That's $1,916,000. The House funds the full agency request. For every $1 spent there, we save $5.33. Court coordinators, $55,000 salary for treatment costs, drug testing, and community policing. 30.7.4, increased funds to add 1 DUI court, 2 mental health courts, 1 drug court, and 1 juvenile court. The governor's recommendation was $247,000. We put in $585,000. Put a mental health court in Tifton and Coweta County, DUI court in Paulding, and a drug court in Hall County, and juvenile drug court in Augusta. 30.7.5, increased funds for 1 administrative coordinator position, $112,000. The Office of Accountability Courts has 1 manager, and she has no assistant. She does a great job, but she needs an assistant, and we said yes to providing that person. 30.7.6, provide funds for moral reclamation therapy, training, and MRT trauma training, $343,687. This is funded, this is Speaker Ralston's mental health legislation, and it's a statutory requirement. Criminal Justice Coordinating Council, Family Violence, 30.8.4, increased funds for domestic violence shelters for administrative personnel and facility costs related to compliance with state standards, $14,704,000. They have 41 domestic violence shelters plus 7 dual domestic violence sexual assault centers. 30.8.5, increased funds for sexual assault centers for administrative personnel and facility costs related to compliance with state standards, $2,073,345. There are 28 sexual assault centers and another 21 satellite centers that are not funded here. 30.8.6, provide funds for sexual assault nurse examiner, coordinators, SANES, and improve access to SANE resources for sexual assault centers. These are nurses that are trained to do examinations and collect evidence so that rapists can be prosecuted in court. Most people know that rapists are serial. If you don't have a sane nurse and don't do this properly and the guy gets away, it's going to cause some other people some problems down the road. The cost is $4,014,000. 30.8.7, increased funds for 6 sexual assault centers, $325,740, and 21 satellite sexual assault centers, $570,000, for a total of $895,785. Juvenile Justice, 31.1.8, increased fund for a 3% provider rate increase to child caring institutions, $558,000. 31.2.8, increased funds provided new benchmark for juvenile correction officers at a beginning salary of $40,040 to create parity with correctional officers. This is just in their administrative section. It's just $10,692. In the YDCs under 31.3.7, provide funds for the ongoing costs associated with a new pilot electronic grievance system in one Department of Juvenile Justice Secure Commitment Facility and one secure detention facility. We didn't fund that as they can't seem to locate a vendor. 31.3.15, increased funds provided new benchmark, again, for juvenile correctional officers, $40,000 starting salary, again, to bring parity with correctional officers. Under secure detention, 31.4.8, provide, this is the same as in the YDC, provide funds for the ongoing costs associated with a new pilot electronic grievance system in one Department of Juvenile Justice Secure Commitment Facility and one secure detention facility. Again, we didn't fund it because they can't locate a provider. 31.4.14, increased funds provided new benchmark. This is again salary in this section, $1,447,772 to bring parity with correctional officers. Under the Law Department, 31.1.7, increased funds for the second phase of a merit-based retention initiative for attorney positions. Governor's recommendation was $1,594,000. We put in $3,188,000. There's a 25% projected turnover rate for attorneys, which is up from 18% from 2023. Starting salary from $67,000, it goes up to $75,000, including the COLA. 33.1.9, increased funds expand the gang prosecution unit in Columbus, Macon, and Savannah regions. The governor recommended $807,000. We put in $822,000. That's one prosecutor and one investigator each in Columbus, which had 36 murders and 44 rapes. Macon, which had 70 murders and 64 rapes. And Savannah, which had 32 murders and 85 rapes in 2022. That includes the law enforcement raise. Moving down to Medicaid fraud unit, utilize existing funds, $16,867, increased fund, $13,954 for the second phase of a merit-based retention initiative for attorney positions. Governor's recommendation was $13,954. We put in $44,775. Pardons and parole, no changes. Public Defender Council, 37.1.4, increased funds, provide an additional $3,000 targeted salary enhancement for selected post-certified law enforcement officers. Governor put in $80,000. We zeroed it out. There's no requirement that they have any post-certified law enforcement officers in the Public Defender Council. Under Public Defenders, increased funds, provide an additional $3,000 targeted salary increase for posts. Once again, same thing, we've zeroed it out. 37.2.8, increased funds for 3 additional assistant public defender positions for the new judgeships in Douglas, Houston, and Tifton. Every time they get a new judge, they get a new public defender. 37.2.9, increased funds for 7 attorney positions in the Atlanta Judicial Circuit, $431,795. They gave up 7 attorneys to start a conflict case unit years ago. Now they're asking for those 7 positions back. 37.2.10, increased funds for Stone Mountain Judicial Circuit contract, $204,000. They were under a special contract with the county to keep the county benefits. Contract has expired, so now they're entering into a regular contract, and it's $204,000. 37.2.11, increased funds for the creation of alternative defender office in Brunswick to address high conflict case demand. $408,000. The high conflict case demanded 4 attorneys, 1 investigator, and 2 administrative assistants. 37.2.11, increased funds for the creation, whoops, that's the same one. 37.2.12, increased funds for rent for the alternate public defender regional offices, $129,000. Those are in Vienna, Augusta, Cartersville, Lyons, and Macon. 37.2.13, collaborate with the prosecuting attorneys to maintain a unified pay scale between the assistant district attorneys and public defenders to report findings to the House and Senate Appropriations Committees by July 1st, 2024. There's no money involved in this, but we've tried to keep the prosecutors and the public defenders with the same salaries, and it's got out of kilter, and we've met with them the other day, and they're going to have a joint meeting and try and come to some resolution, and they required to give us a report on to the House and Senate by July 21st, 2024. Public safety. 39.1.6, increase funds to provide aviation pilot in-grade promotions. Governor recommended $36,000. The cost is $39,000, which we put in. 39.1.7, increase funds for aircraft fuel for local assistance requests, $95,271. This will come up again in the field services program, but we've transferred it from the field services to aviation where it belongs. $39.4.6, increased funds for personal service expense to reflect previously vacant law enforcement officer positions. As you know, they're understaffed in public safety, and they've got some vacant positions. So Governor recommended $452,000. We put $453,000 in. There are 15 vacant positions, adding a $9,000 raise to account for the $6,000 fiscal year 24 raise and the $3,000 fiscal year 25 raise. 39.4.8, increased funds for aircraft fuel. This is the thing I just told you we transferred to the aviation division. 39.4.9, eliminate one-time funds for the Buckhead post. You know they're establishing a new post in Buckhead. Governor's recommendation was $1,200,000. Our cost totals say that it's going to cost $1,250,000. 39.4.13, reduce one-time funds for regional K-9 task force to reflect the purchase of 20 K-9s in fiscal year 2024 budget. We're taking back $257,000. That was a one-time deal. That leaves enough money in there for them to purchase 5 dogs every year. We have several agencies under the Department of Public Safety that are administratively attached. One is the Georgia Firefighter Standards and Training Council. Under 39.8.3, provide funds for one additional safety and compliance specialist and associated travel for the creation of a new testing program. Governor recommended $113,000. The cost is actually $227,000, which we recommended. Also administratively attached is the Georgia Peace Officer Standards and Training Council, better known as POST. 39.9.5, increased funds for the Georgia Post Resiliency Program, previously funded through the Criminal Justice Coordinating Council Law Enforcement Training Grant. We said no to that. As we understand it, POST is expected to approve training. They're not expected to provide it. So the governor recommended $647,000. We took it out and transferred that money to the Public Safety Training Center where they do provide training. 39.9.8, increased funds for system maintenance support for online gang and human traffic training system. We said no to that. It's also duplicative, and the Georgia Public Safety Training Center already has a free online class for all public safety personnel, fire, EMS, dispatchers, and police, so we zeroed that out. 39.9.9, provide additional funds for Georgia Association of Chiefs of Police sponsored training, $80,972, and sheriff's training, $119,028. In 2020, we cut them $200,000, which is what we replaced it with. This is much less than statutorily required to provide for training, so it's the best we could do at this time. And the amounts we gave each association was based on what they got previously. 39.9.10, increased funds to provide a $2,000 salary adjustment for law enforcement officers not included in House Bill 19. That's $90,420. Georgia Public Safety Training Center, 39.10.7, increased funds for one mechanic position, one curriculum specialist position, and one instructor developmental position. The governor recommended $313,000. We put in $321,000, which includes a 4% COLA. 39.10.10, increase funds for additional staff and operational needs to increase the basic law enforcement training hours. Together recommended $6,144,000. We put $6,262,000, includes the 4% COLA. They're about to double the number of hours that required for the basic post certification. $39.10.14, increased fund for annual cardiopulmonary resuscitation training for dispatchers. $291,908. This annualizes the fiscal 24 ad. This is a new program and it's mandatory funding. 39.10.15, increased funds for 3 positions and travel costs to provide resiliency training statewide to law enforcement officers and firefighters. This is the money, $600,000 we transferred from post. And that's the end. Any questions from anybody on the committee? Hearing none, do I hear a motion? Second. All in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, no. Motion carries. We're adjourned.